How much water would you have to drink to die? Which mathematician was the leader of an extreme religious cult that forbade its members from talking or eating beans? How did an episode of Friends create one of the most widely believed medical myths? The answers to these questions and hundreds more can be found in my new book, Facts That Aren't True. Link in the description.
So in the definition of God, God is perfect, right?
Right. Yeah.
And for that perfection to be fulfilled for us, God must exist. Because for something to be perfect, it must exist. Yeah. It's the ontological argument. It's a bit weak, but it makes a bit.
Your audio stopped.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, I've heard the ontological. So the typical response to this is like, okay, well, if that's the case, then the perfect sandwich must exist, or something like that. Yeah. And then what people like Redeemed Zoomer will say is, well, no, because once you do that, then your sandwich actually becomes God. And it's like, okay, so I mean, our problem here is I think we have two problems. We've just defined God into, well, one problem. We've just really defined God into existence. And what I would say the other problem is an argument doesn't prove anything. I don't see how, I don't understand why people think that that's how literally anything works. But what I've proposed in response to that is people claim that without God there can be no evil, right?
Yeah, sure.
And if God, so the only possible world where there is no evil is a world where God doesn't exist, but that would be the actual perfect world. Therefore, God can't exist. Ta-da! I think I don't know. It's not the most clever thing in the world, but I don't view the ontological argument as being clever in any way either. So
no, me neither. To be honest with you, I think it's pretty weak one, but it's one that just makes sense to me. In a way. I guess in all honesty, if I was to be completely honest with you, you're an atheist, and you're someone who I respect quite a lot for your intelligence and your actual thorough, detailed research, but I will argue one thing to you, and I'd say, potentially, this is a bit of a cop-out answer, but God specifically makes himself unknown to a lot of these arguments, and maybe potentially unknown to a lot of these logical devices, and potentially that is the truest test of faith, in a way.
What's the implication, though? Like, you're just claiming that's the way God is?
I guess the fact that you have no 100% proof of God, and yet you can still believe in him, is the truest test of faith.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I get it, but that also there's an enormous problem with that, which is God just makes himself hidden or whatever. That's fine unless the punishment for not knowing that this God exists or not believing it, and if you had no evidence, you'd have no reason to believe in it. Therefore, it would be no fault of your own to not have any faith in it, especially according to many Christians, when it's this very specific, you have to believe in that Jesus died on a cross for your sins. If you live in the Amazon jungle, you don't know that. You can't know that. You can't be responsible for it, but you're going to go to hell for eternity anyways. Then there is no benevolence in this God that we have imagined. But if you don't believe that's how it works, then that's okay. But the hilarious thing about that is I had a long conversation, I think, with a Catholic about this. And I said, okay, well, then if we wanted to guarantee that nobody ever goes to hell again, then we should either nuke the entire planet or just at least eradicate Christianity. And they were like, oh, fuck, yeah, that would. That's right. But nobody would. I wouldn't advocate for either of those things. And I don't think, well, then again, a lot of Christians, especially the ones in government, they think the rapture is coming. And I think a lot of them think they can speed it up by going to war with Iran and Russia. So these fucking soggy-faced ghouls that we have that are just horny for nuclear war. I think they actually think that Jeebus Crispy is going to come all over them very soon if they can just start a war that everybody's children except theirs will die in, and then the rapture happens.
I don't know. Do you think? Okay, I'm sorry for asking so many questions here, but why do you personally not have faith in any sort of religion? If you do, if you don't,
because it's just absurd. Because there's an infinite set, and so why even bother with any of them? The odds that people use Pascal's wager as if the options are the version of the Christian God I believe in is true, or there is no God. So believe in it, because if you die and you're wrong, nothing happens anyway. But if you don't believe in it and you're wrong, the worst thing happens. And I can't fathom. I've had a few really funny conversations with people about this, where I say, what if there's a different God, and this God's rule is, if you're a Christian, you go to hell? And they can't make themselves understand that that's even a possibility. And so I ran the numbers and I figured there's no point. It's like trying to win a race that's infinity miles long. I was like, well, why don't you at least get up and try? Like, nobody's going to win. I don't care.
Oh, fair enough. But okay, so using the logic of like Pascal's wager here, is atheism not accepting defeat on all fronts rather than at least going with one?
Well, no, because there would be an infinite number of afterlives where no hell even exists, and an infinite number of afterlives where even non-believers don't go to hell. They just have to be like decent people or something like that. So
I think like sorry, my friends in the comments just sorry. Well, okay, so if there was a religion out there for you that was like completely merciful to all people, and it still kept the same Judeo-Christian concept of God, would you believe in that?
I definitely wouldn't convert today. I mean, it's hard to say. I know I can't quantify it, but I know that a huge part of my deconstruction was just the fact that a lot of the Christians I knew and a lot of famous people who were Christians were the worst people that I knew or knew of. And that poisoned the well. There were years and years of erosion in finding belonging to a religion necessary because of that. But I still believed in a God or whatever. I even believed in Jesus and all that. But then once I realized that I had no better reason to believe that than I did that the Sphinx is going to sneak into my bedroom one day and spank me, then I was like, yeah, this is all kind of silly, isn't it? So then I just started to not believe in anything.
Oh. I guess, like, again, when like you look at the metaphysics of God arguments, it kind of just comes down to, do you have faith or not? And in all honesty, there are a million and one empirical arguments you can make for having faith in God or not. But obviously, none of those are going to win a debate here or there. So I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm going to concede it was a good conversation. And I think ultimately, if I can leave you with anything, I think whenever you're debating with a religious person, I ultimately think the cornerstone and the biggest, the deepest thing of all of their knowledge and basis of everything is going to be whether they have faith or not. And no offense, even as good a debaters as you are, you cannot argue with faith. It's like arguing with a brick wall.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know that. It's just as long as they admit it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk to anybody about this. I don't shout over or mute or kick people out unless they're just being complete ass clowns. So, you know, I have my thoughts, but I want to hear what they have to say, because if nothing else, I'll have better justifications for what I believe in. Or if something they say makes me sound insecure, then I'll have to do some deep thinking. And like there are thoughts and arguments and beliefs I've had that I've abandoned because somebody who disagrees with me shows me that that's dumb and doesn't make any sense. So we're beta testing ideas here.